Guys, we're on the way back now. I just did the vlog and I checked it and it's really out of focus completely. So when you're watching it, try not to watch it and instead just listen, because you'll feel like your eyes are bleeding otherwise. Okay, just listen to it. Also, I say at the start that I think it'll be short, and it's not.
It's
so
not.
be aware of that, and enjoy or not, your choice. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Before we begin, I want to announce that I have received a box of delights from Mayor Doyle, and at BroCon I'm going to be selling a bunch of these motherfuckers. Hagan plushies. There are, I believe overall there's about 10 or 12 of them, and they're of different sizes. These are the small ones, which is just like the height of a head.
Yeah, it's about 10 inches.
The other ones are
Ladies.
bigger, like almost twice as big. So,
if you want your very own evil little dictator to squeeze.
So if you're going to BroCon, you can buy one. If you're not going to BroCon, if there's any left after BroCon, which there likely will be, I'll be selling whatever's left over the internet. So,
we saw Z-Men, Days of Present Future.
yes. I am still fucking amazed that this is the 7th X-Men film. This is the longest running superhero film franchise in history.
Without a reboot.
They attempted it, but they dragged it back. This is like the
retcon's in canon.
This movie, there's more X-Men movies than Star Wars movies. It happened. It's odd to think about. You know, I think
only 2 of them were shit this time.
I think the second longest running superhero movie franchise without a reboot must be like the
Superman?
the joint, the Burton Schumacher Batmans and the Christopher Reeve Supermans, and you know you can call the MCU a series, but it's not quite the same.
No, it's an overarching story rather than.
Yeah, although you could say the same thing about the X-Men movies, I suppose. But
they have consistent characters. The MCU breaks up.
That's true. We do have Hugh Jackman, but he's the huge jacked man. But
my favourite Hugh.
But we saw Days of Future Past, and because it's not come out in America yet, and it won't for a while, as in a couple of days, we're going to be nice and give you no spoilers first, and then we'll like wave something around to say that there's spoilers. So,
and just to let you know, we didn't just see Days of Future Past. This was a double bill. I saw First Class first.
Yep, it's now like 3 in the morning.
Yes.
So if you don't want to, if you want to just skip to the spoilers, go forward in the video till I do that. Then watch from there.
Or, you know, just enjoy our banter the whole way through.
You can, yeah.
So, if you've read the Days of Future Past comic, there's really nothing we can spoil. There are some...
No, you can, because it's completely done differently.
It's completely done differently, but it's the same basic thing.
And to preempt anyone who says it's like the Terminator, Days of Future Past, the comic came first.
One thing that I really noticed throughout this, just in visual stylings and costuming and stuff like that, the show Heroes, that I am a big defender of, people hate it, but I love it. Heroes took a lot of inspiration from Days of Future Past comics originally, and then visually it almost looks like this movie took a lot of that back from Heroes.
Yeah.
Especially in the how Xavier looked throughout the younger years.
I'm gonna go into general type review stuff. I would not put this as one of the best X-Men films. I was slightly underwhelmed in that way. I'd still say 2 and First Class are better, but...
And the Wolverine.
No, I'd put this on par with the Wolverine. It's much better. It's better than X1, X3, and X-Men Origins.
Darling, a turd shaped like the X-Men symbol is better than X3.
No, that is X-Men Origins, and they're roughly the same as badness as each other.
But no, I would actually disagree. I think this is one of the better ones. I'd say it's up there on par with X2.
I'm putting this at 3rd out of 7,
well,
which is respectable. It's replacing Wolverine as the 3rd best X-Men film.
I'm saying that First Class, in my opinion, is by far the best. However, this and X2 are a very close second.
Fair enough.
It's a difference of opinion for once from us.
from our superheroes and horror movies show.
Hey, we're still thinking about doing Postman Pat the movie, right?
When's it coming out?
I don't know.
At some point. Well, you know, if you want to do it just for the lols, but I don't imagine many Americans will know what the fuck it is.
But, yeah, so...
Postman Pat the movie it's on right now. But it's only on at 1 in the afternoon. Sorry, 2, 4:30, and like 20 to 11.
Ah, fuck it. Filmbrain's doing a projector of it anyway.
So, I don't think the timing is right for for us, and it'll be gone by the time you're free on a weekend. During the day, I mean.
Yeah.
So, no Postman Pat the movie, alas.
Oh, sad.
But yeah, Days of Future Past is good. Good, it is good. I prefer the comic, but it is good.
It's certainly worth saying that it's been about 10 years since I read the comic, but I still think the comic was slightly better. But then, I say that about almost everything.
It's a better depiction of the basic storyline than X-Men the Animated Series did, because X-Men the Animated Series mixed up Bishop's story with Days of Future Past, and this one did too, but at least it kept Bishop in the future.
Yeah.
Bishop is supposed to be from a different, you know, Sentinel-dominated, mutant-hitting future. You gotta keep these things straight.
Mm. I like that the Sentinels were 10 feet tall instead of 300 feet tall.
I don't know, I was like, giant ones. The Sentinels were a bit too invulnerable in the future. I know what they were trying to go for, but I want them to the X-Men to be able to take down a bunch of them. But shall we go into spoilers?
You have to wave your hand. You said you would.
Spoilers!
We're gonna spoil
You are going
it.
to see spoilers.
So, the X-Men of the future. We don't know how the fuck this happened, but Charles Xavier is still alive, and
We can only guess that he did transplant his body at the end of X3 into that other body, into his identical twins, and but somehow his legs are still not working. Did he, you know, for old time's sake, did he cripple himself again?
I don't know. X1, I believe, showed us that he has some telekinetic powers as well as
No.
mental things.
No, he's only got telepathic.
Ah.
It's Jean Grey's got telekinetic and telepathic.
I don't know why I'm getting confused about that.
I don't know. Why are you asking me?
Because you're nerdier than I am.
Possibly.
So they're like, we need to send somebody back in time. I have developed, unexplained in the movie canon, the ability to do this because I can walk through walls.
Yeah, well, Kitty Pryde being one sending back in time was basically a sop because in the original Days of Future Past, she was the one who went back in time. And because the X-Men had not quite developed into Wolverine plus his friends at that point. So she was sent back in time, and it was by Rachel Summers, who was called Phoenix then, who is not to be connected with Jean Grey, although I believe Rachel Summers is Madeline Pryor's daughter, who is a clone of Jean Grey. It's very complicated.
It's Marvel Comics.
Yes. It's Chris Claremont, so these things are to be expected. So Wolverine goes back in time because apparently his mind has a healing factor.
Like every other part of him. Whenever they said it'll snap your mind, it apparently wasn't metaphorical. They literally meant it would snap his mind.
They really should have just sent Mystique back. In the future thing, I know what they should have had, because I do not like this Wolverine worship. They should have had Wolverine in the future as one of the guys defending, because he's like really good at defending shit. And then they have Wolverine dying a la, as happens in the comics, because that would be a massive what the fuck moment for the entire audience. And you've got Mystique, have her be human in the future. They have to rescue her from the thing, and they send her back because she can change. She's a perfect infiltration person. She has to stop the assassination. Now, I think that Mystique was the assassin in Days of Future Past. I'm not entirely sure, but cause it's been a long time since I read it. But they could have moved that around a bit.
I remember her being the assassin.
Although she also tried to assassinate Graydon Creed, which caused fuck-ups as well.
Yeah.
Although I'm watching First Class again, I'm reminded of my irritation at the pointlessness of having Moira McTaggart suddenly be an American CIA agent whenever she was established in X3 as she was in the comic, a Scottish scientist who was friends with Xavier. The comic Moira McTaggart is a Scottish scientist who's friends with Xavier. The X-Men universe has a woman secret agent that they could have used, Valerie Cooper.
Yeah, it's like if what you call her, Nick Fury's second in command. woman agent.
Maria Hill?
Yes, it's like if Agent Hill suddenly turned into Natasha Romanoff for no good damn reason.
No, it's actually worse than that because, okay, apart from, well, nationality change, but that happens with with that one as well. Although their entire job changed. At least Maria Hill is a secret agent, and so is Black Widow. This is like a Scottish scientist from 40 years in the future is turned into a person of different nationality 40 years earlier, who's a completely different job.
Maybe they just have the same name. No, watching First Class again. The other thing that annoys me about that character is that she disappears about a third of the way into the movie, and then she's suddenly there in the battle scene.
Which one?
Maria.
Oh yeah.
It's
Wait. What film are you talking about?
First Class.
Oh, you mean Maura McTaggart?
Maura, not Maria.
Yeah.
They're all the same. They begin with M. I'm tired, but yeah. That's one of the only things that annoys me about First Class, that and Fassbender's accent.
And Beast makeup being terrible.
No, I like that. It looks like the Michael Bay Turtles.
He looks terrible. I'm glad they made him into proper ape Beast. I do not like Cat Beast.
I don't like his lips. But no, that's one of the things that annoys me about First Class, is that she disappears at about a third of the way into the film, and she's there in the first act and the last act, not in the middle.
Well, the airy ending of First Class is also a problem when they cripple Charles for no reason at all, and they make them sort of, him and Magneto break up and everything. I'm glad that Matthew Vaughn was trying to set up a definite reboot, and here is going to be the definite end of this story. But he really should have set up with franchise in mind. But he chose not to. But Days of Future Past.
So Wolverine goes back in time to stop Mystique from killing Peter Dinklage.
Who, in X-Men 3, was actually a large black man, played by Mac from Predator, if you recall.
No, I don't.
Yeah, Bolivar Trask was a supporting character in X-Men 3.
Bear in mind, my alcoholism resurfaces every time I watch X-Men 3.
Well, it's true.
But, yeah, so Peter Dinklage is the creator of the Sentinels from Space-Ace Polymer in the 70s because, you know, we had that kind of technology back before we'd actually developed computers. And I mean real computers, not fucking ticker tapes.
How do you know that the first computer was developed in the 1600s, although it was never completed? The difference engine. It was created by Charles
Babbage.
Yeah, wasn't it Charles Babbage?
Yes.
Babbage anyway, and it was
Richard Babbage was Shakespeare's right-hand man.
Okay, and it was programmed by Ada Lovelace.
I know.
Do they know? Now they're impressed with me.
Okay, she knows about as much about the history of computing as the first-year computer science.
And I have no idea about computers. I'm a Luddite, remember?
Yeah, I meant digital computers.
But Future Past. In the future, everything's shitty. There's terrible things going on, and everyone dies. But then they go back in time and wake up again, and the past changes, which I'm still a little unclear about how stuff goes, because in the film it explains you go unconscious, and then you change something, and then you wake up in the future, and then the present changes, which is fine.
And you're the only person who'll recall what the present was like before that.
But Bishop was sent back, and he had literally about 10 seconds before him and Kitty Pryde got fried. So what exactly did he do? Did he just yell, "Do not go to New York"?
No, he probably went back a couple of days, was like, "Sentinels be here in 3 days, yo, fuck off."
Okay, fine, but I doubt Omar Sy would say it like that. He had a much more amusing accent.
Well, that wasn't an accent, that was just me being me.
Your accent is unamusing.
Future Past was good. It was really enjoyable, but it shows here the same kind of thing that happened that was far too rushed in First Class, and it's the character of Mystique. She's just too broken. I get that she's supposed to be, but I get the feeling that she needs a lot more character development than what she's received for us to actually understand the point that she's at, not just everybody keeps betraying me, wah.
Magneto, it's much more amusing when we talk about stuff that's bad. Just know this is overall very good, so we're going to complain about stuff. Okay?
Yeah, we're nitpicking.
We're going to blow stuff out of proportion.
Yeah, for example, in the present day future where the Sentinels are all being blah, 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 and the
That was
X-Men
like 2023, based on what they said.
in 2K. God, I'm turning into a Folly Girl. In 2023, they established that Magneto being arrested and held in the Pentagon was canon for killing JFK. How the fuck did he get out of that in the normal timeline? Did they break him out for something else?
Mystique probably broke him out.
That just doesn't make any sense. And in that case, why in the X-Men films was he put in the plastic prison instead of held in the Pentagon again?
Because he obviously got out previously, so the plastic prison was an update of the idea.
Nah, not cool.
I didn't quite... Magneto was written too much of as a supervillain in this. It happens quite often in the X-Men films, and it's probably consistent with how a lot of writers view him, but I tend to view him as an essentially noble character who's doing what he believes is necessary. And whether that's good or bad, he will do what he thinks is necessary. And this one, he just... It's like the bit in X-Men 1, whenever Wolverine's like held up against the thing, and he's like, "If you're so righteous, why don't you put yourself in that machine?" And and then die instead of Rogue. It's like Magneto should have pointed out that if he tried to go into that machine, he would have died because he's really elderly, and he would not. The job wouldn't get done. And in this one, it's just like you got young Magneto. He knows what's going to happen with the Sentinels. And he has like a mission thing where he takes over the Sentinels by really cleverly lacing them with metal so he can control them. But then, rather than be sensible and control a Sentinel into making it look like it goes haywire and assassinates the president, and then so Trask gets the blame for it, and everyone thinks the Sentinels are just shit.
Yeah, subtlety. He decides to drop a stadium around the White House.
And then yell that we are really fucking dangerous, you better kill us at some point, ha 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 ha. It's like, Magneto, you fucking idiot.
Basically the silent speech from Doctor Who. You should kill us on sight.
And you're supposed to be better than that, Magneto.
It's not even the fact that he's supposed to be better than that. Magneto is shown several times across the course of these films, manipulating about 30 to 40 objects at once. Even whenever in this one, he's pointing about 20 guns at a group of men and controlling 7 Sentinels at the same time. Hannah, have you ever tried to use 2 objects, one in each hand at the same time?
He's incredibly practiced.
That requires a fuck ton of concentration. I'm a little bit ambidextrous because I'm a pianist and I've trained myself to be ambidextrous. But by God, operating 7 large machines and all these little tiny things at the same time while carrying all this other shit and doing this, that requires a fuck ton of incredible brain, which should be able to come up with a scheme that's less harebrained.
Yeah, it's nothing as bad as like Magneto was in the 1960s Fantastic Four cartoon, where he was outsmarted by Reed Richards, who had a fake gun made of wood, and he was like, "Oh my God, I can't make your gun lift out of your hand. Oh no, I've lost my powers. I give up to the cops immediately. And they'll put me in a metal cell and I won't think to escape." It's not as bad as that. He's just... You should be smarter than that and better. Plus, I've said this before and I'll say it again, Bryan Singer should be kept away from Magneto costume designs.
Yeah.
In the future part, it's fine. He just looks like everyone else. It looks like everyone else, which is canvas.
He's wearing... It looks like he's wearing the costume that he's wearing in the past, but with hockey pads on.
Yeah, but it's black and stuff. He's not even wearing a helmet. But in the past part, end of First Class, we got a perfect Magneto costume.
Yes.
It was beautiful. It was a work of art.
It had an opera cape. It was purpley fabulous.
It was put together. It was obviously put together roughly because, that's realistic. But then in this one, he's like wearing a chocolate brown version of his Ian McKellen costume. And it's like, where the fuck did he get that?
And his really cool metal helmet has been replaced with one that's made out of black paper mache.
Yeah, it's like, okay, Bryan Singer, keep away from Magneto's costume. Matthew Vaughn did it right. You should also keep away from Quicksilver. In fact, everyone who's related to Magneto, keep away from their costumes, Bryan Singer.
We did have a nice joke in this where... It was like Quicksilver and Magneto were in an elevator, and it's like, so you can control metal, right? Yeah. My mom used to know somebody like that. To which you could tell who were real nerds, they're like, lol, lol, lol.
Yeah, I put it together when he must be, because Quicksilver must be about 17, so I guess that must be 1956, making Magneto about 18 or so. So, yeah, it's entirely feasible in this continuity that he is, yeah.
But the costume in Quicksilver was incredibly... I get what they were trying to do with it. It was like kind of a really young Quicksilver being a raver with stupid shit. But if you take away the costume, it was actually, I think the way they showed it working and his personality were brilliant.
Oh yeah, everything except for the costume was brilliant. Although, the more I think about this, the more I think Quicksilver shouldn't have been in this film. You need someone who's fast, who's arrogant, who's a prick, who's got incesty undertones with a twin sister, and who's old friends with Wolverine. You get fucking North Star. Plus, his costume is harder to fuck up than Quicksilver. Quicksilver is so easily fucked up. I'm not even convinced the Avengers hasn't fucked him up. Because he looks ridiculous. But, it's like young Magneto. Young Magneto in the X-Men comics has white hair. Because it's part of his mutation, and this is one of the symbols of why he's, Quicksilver's dad, because he's got white hair as well. Why the fuck did they give Quicksilver white hair in this? There's no need to. They avoided...
didn't do it to Magneto.
Yeah, so I really don't know. They should have just gone for North Star. Same powers, basically.
Yeah.
Plus he would have been French-Canadian, which would have been hilarious.
We did have a 2-second clip whenever Magneto was in the TV of Quicksilver sitting, cuddling his sister, and his mum in the background seeing Magneto on TV being like, oh shit.
I remember him.
He had a large metal penis.
He could control electromagnetism. Yeah. He made the Earth's magnetic poles move. Once in these films, I would love to see Magneto flying around with some sort of electricity around him. Happens in the comics all the time. Yeah. Some sort of electrical field around him. Because, magnetic is very similar to electricity.
Yeah.
Something.
I believe in the comics it's stated at some point that he can fly simply by repelling the Earth's core.
Yeah, something like that. Plus he's probably got metal in like his costume and stuff.
Or even how the X2, I believe it was, did it, where he just stands on a globe of metal. Was that X2 or X3?
Could be either. I mean, in X1 he had these like things that sort of moved and then he created a path in front of him as he walked. X1 had actually one of my favourite little subtle bits with Magneto where he had like a Newton's cradle going on in the background, but then the second he finished his conversation and left the room, the balls fell to the ground. Yeah. I'm completely the opposite on you when it comes to Magneto. I want him to be able to do a lot of different things, and I want him to be able to do them without actually thinking.
No. I really like that. I'm just pointing out that implies that he has a genius level of intelligence, at least kinetic intelligence in his brain.
He's just very practiced.
Yeah. I like that he fiddles with things. I even liked in this film where he was walking down with the ball bearings just being like, woo. I like in First Class where he's spinning the coin around his hand. That looked a lot stupider in Jumper. It was Jumper, right? Looper, that's it. I like Magneto fiddling with shit. I like that he's gloriously fabulous making his little bridge, or I like that he's gloriously fabulous whenever he rips the iron out of the guy's blood and just stands on it like this and floats away.
What I want to know, okay, in the future, the costumes are supposed to be functional, and they kind of aren't.
Wolverine has armor glued to his arms.
He has got armor glued to spandex.
No, it's glued to his skin.
Well, on the bottom part there, he's got yellow spandex, and he's got metal armor going on it to look like his comic thing, which is a nice touch, but it's absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, completely impractical.
While Colossus, this is my favorite bit, Colossus has armor on the outside of his costume, and it's like, why the fuck did you give him some armor? Surely someone else could do with some more armor.
It's like attaching a fire extinguisher to your flamethrower.
It was lovely to see Blink. Blink is one of the best visualized X characters I've seen in any of these films. She looks brilliant, and she looks just like she does in the comics, although...
She also plays a lot of Portal.
Yeah, but in the comics, she's obviously not Chinese, and I don't give a shit. I'm happy with Chinese Blink. She's great.
Blink was good.
Sunspot is way too white. They should have cast a darker looking guy. He's supposed to be, he's supposed to be not quite black, but nearly black. He's, Brazilian. Plus, he looked like the Human Torch when he was on fire. He's supposed to look like the heart of the sun, or like the surface of the sun. He's supposed to have dark spots. He's called Sunspot. He's not bright. He's bright and dark at the same time.
But they did the same thing with Bobby, Iceman. They basically every time he used his powers, his face turned into a block of ice. It's like...
No,
yeah.
that was brilliant. That's how he is in the comics.
I know.
And finally, he learned how... Well, at the end of X3, he actually did that for the first time, but...
I know that that's how it is in the comics, but it looks like shit.
No, it doesn't. It looked great. He's turned into organic ice. This is the evolution of Iceman's character. It's like, finally, Iceman, 7 films in, is doing what he learned to do about 12 issues into the comic. Originally, he was, like, covered in snow and shit, but... It's like, I like that. My only problem was his hair and beard turned into things. Proper Iceman turns into the organic ice, but... Wait, or maybe he doesn't in the original comics, or he does now, I can't remember. But he's supposed to be, like, bald, and you know, even the way his hair, hair doesn't turn into it, it just looks like he's bald. But maybe that would look even worse, I don't know.
I don't know, I don't like the effect that they used for it.
Oh, I loved it.
It just adds an extra second to his combat as well, because he's like, turn to the ice, then freeze things, instead of just being like, freeze things.
No, he was freezing things before he turned into the ice. He can do both. Yeah. Did you not notice that? He was sliding around before he was turned into ice.
Slip sliding away.
Yeah, he was doing the ice slide. It was like, it's like, finally, we have, it's like every single X-Men film on the modern day ones, they were getting closer and closer and closer to an actual full-on X-Men film, and this one's the closest yet.
Yeah.
I mean, the best thing about Last Stand, and there's not many things you can say about that, but the action scenes were getting there, closer than X2, closer than X1, and this one it's even closer. Not quite, but nearly, and...
It's a lot closer to the X-Men as a group of people who know how to fight with their powers than anything else really we've seen.
Yeah, and I want to see another future X-Men film, because now that in their new timeline, Rogue and Iceman are a couple, because in this one, in the bad timeline, eventually it became Kitty Pryde and Iceman, because I really want them to have the greatest love story in comic books, in the X-Men universe, in comic books in general, except of course for Mirage and Wolfsbane, which was never consummated, damn it. But Colossus and Kitty Pryde, 2 of my favorite characters, and for ages, okay, they're together, they're in love, they break up, one of them dies, they come back to life, they try to kill the other one's new partner, then they get back together, then the other one dies. Shit happens, and it's a comic book, but they are the greatest love story in comic books.
Hey, it doesn't even have a hint on Wolverine and Random Girl X-32.
X-32 is his clone.
That was a complete Freudian slip right there.
Or was it X-23?
I meant to say Random Girl number 32.
But yeah, he's got a female clone called X-23 or X-32.
I know.
Oh, now this is hilarious. Okay, at the very start of this film, there's a person digging in the ground, wearing a hood, and we can't really tell who they are, but they got brown and silver hair. So, little backstory for this. I was all like, I heard that there were some extra cameos which they weren't publicizing, and I'm guessing that it is Cyclops, Apocalypse, and Old Beast. And then I was like, who do you think it was?
And I was like, Jubilee, Jubilee, Jubilee! But, my fantasies never get fulfilled.
Yeah, and then Robyn made another suggestion, which...
And this was a misinterpretation, because I was like, wait, they're making a small cameo, and they're an X-Man? It's Spider-Man! She was like, you said X-Man. You think X-Man's going to be this? I'm like, yes, I said that.
Yes, I think it's going to be X-Man. And then, of course, this person in the hood with the silver and brown hair, I was just like, I still can't tell who it is. I'm going to have to look this up. But it was either Rogue, looking like a man for some reason, or it was X-Man, as in alternate reality Cable. Because, and it's not even really answering it. I don't even know what they were doing there. They were just like, I'm digging in the ground for some reason. Here I am, looking like X-Man.
Oh, look, it's dead Scott Summers, I think.
I don't know.
It looked like Cyclops' armor.
Maybe. I'm going to have to look up to see what the fuck, who that's supposed to be, because it looked like X-Man. But end credits. There is an end credits. Apoca fucking lips. Apoca fucking lips. Apoca fucking lips. it's ancient Egypt, and he's building like a pyramid with his mind, and then you pan over past all these people worshipping him because, you know, you gotta worship fucking Apocalypse. It's only a pity that John Colicos is not here to voice him. And then you pan over even more, and you got 4 literal horsemen of the Apocalypse. It's not like Angel or some shit. It's 4 guys on the horseback going, "We are worshipping you, Apocalypse." The only problem is Apocalypse appears to be like a 12-year-old boy. I'm fairly sure he'll be better.
I thought it was an adult woman at first.
I'm fairly sure he'll be better looking in the next film anyway.
But it did something really right. We were discussing this on the way in because, you know, Days of Future Past, obviously the future's going to be changed. It's going to fuck canon a little bit. Now, my idea was that this would be going in from the canon we left off with in X3,
which is what I'd heard was going to happen.
But obviously not, because we have no explanation for why Professor X isn't dead.
So my thought was, if we have no idea why Professor X is back and in a wheelchair, then possibly they might accidentally say that the Days of Future Past history had like Sentinels and other weird shit happening, and then when they reset it, it becomes the original X-Men series, and therefore canonizing X3. Thankfully that didn't happen, though they just left us with, hey, Professor Xavier was, you know, dead, then he's not dead, then he's got crippled again. Apparently he got homesick for his chair.
We had flashbacks of Jean dying, though.
Yeah, so X3 happened in this continuity, and then...
It happened somewhere, then Professor X came back, and then just as a big fuck you at the end, he's walking about the school, and it's like, Jean, Jean, and then Scott in some very fucking weird glasses that haven't featured in any.
Oh yeah, this is after Wolverine has changed history, and we're in the new present.
In the new present, the Scott's like, I'm here too! Lol, bye!
Well, you know, as soon as I heard Days of Future Past was going to happen, I was like, that is the perfect way to just end it. It's just like, very end, new happy future, Cyclops is back, therefore indicates X3 didn't happen. And they did it perfectly, because he had Kelsey Grammer turn up. Although his makeup looked a bit dodgy, but he was just like, do, I don't give a fuck that I don't sound anything like Nicholas Hoult.
I'm just the most typecast person in history.
It's like Nicholas Hoult didn't even think about impersonating Kelsey Grammer in either film. You know what's even weirder? What I noticed whenever both Professor X's were having a conversation, they have completely different colored eyes. You'd think that someone would have suggested that one of them changed their eye color for the film. You know, even if it's just in the scene where they're face to face, but no. Yeah,
because Wolverine's consciousness is still in the future. Whenever he's back in time, Professor's like, I can't do it, I'm shit, I'm too shit to do this. Wolverine's like, look into my mind. He's like, you've got a lot of pain, I don't want to look in your mind. Look into my mind, but there's pain. Look into my mind and talk to your future self. It's like, hello me, you can do it. Oh, you're right.
I'm really sad that the Days of Future, in the past X-Men, you know, Banshee got killed. Banshee was my favourite of that team of silly X-Men who were new.
Yeah. Havoc was in this one, though.
Very, very short. He's just like, hey, I was in Vietnam, now I'm not in Vietnam, yeah. I'm guessing he's supposed to be Cyclops' dad or uncle in this continuity. And there was Toad, although Toad is now American and...
works as a fry cook.
Yeah, and he is white instead of green. And he has lots more warts in his face than he did in the other one. You would have think that Bryan Singer would remember how he depicted Toad in the first X-Men film. Especially when he has Toad at the end saying Magneto's speech where he's like, we are mutants, we're going to kick ass. You would have had, especially when you have that Toad looking at the screen and being all like, I want to join that guy. He's awesome.
I still don't understand the powers of this radioactive guy. With the spinning tattoo on his hand.
He can make people sick.
It was just like, whoa, spinning tattoo, and then two guys were just like, bleh.
Yeah, power of vomiting. But yeah, Toad's like, I don't need to look like Ray Park or even sound like Ray Park. You know, it's one thing to depict characters who are not American as American. You know, they've done that with Colossus, they've done that with Storm, although she started off with African accent. But
they're very much trying to do that with Magneto, even though they established in the last film that he's German.
So many of the characters, but then it's just another one to depict him as a character and then bring him back ages later, completely redesigned with a new accent, but have it still clearly supposed to be the same guy, which is just random. Oh, and I'm going to bitch about this as well. Quicksilver's first name is not Peter, it's Pietro. There's a difference.
Yeah,
and
no.
Colossus's first name is not Peter either. It's Piotr. Spelled differently because it's Russian. But they're all like...
Peter.
And they're all like, nah, you're going to make them all American now, so it's...
Gotta Anglicalize everything.
It's like, fuck you. Want variety. You might as well call, like, you know, Storm Sharon Monroe.
And this is our new X-Men team. We have John and James and John and Peter.
And the next X-Men film, or another one, because apparently they're working on, like, 3, I want Wolfsbane, and I want Strong Guy. I want someone to say, hey, that guy must be the strong guy, because there's always a strong guy. Hey, what's your code name, Strong Guy? And he's like, Strong Guy. And then, like, someone else can go, oh, you can't call yourself Strong Guy. That's ridiculous. And he's like, why is it any more ridiculous than Superman? Because that is exactly what happened in X Factor with Peter David.
X Factor?
Yeah, it was originally it was a spin-off of X-Men, where it was the original X-Men with their own team. It was relaunched in the 90s, written by Peter David, and it was Havoc, Wolfsbane, Multiple Man, Polaris, Strong Guy, and I think they had Quicksilver for a little bit, but it was very, very funny comic.
X Factor brings up the wrong mental image in my head.
Ah.
But no, I really want Jubilee in an X-Men film.
And she was an X-Men 1, very briefly.
Really? Nah.
She had, like, 2 shots.
And I just want to correct some people. Jubilee's power is not fireworks. Jubilee's power is to short-circuit electrical circuits.
And fireworks.
The fireworks are a side result.
Apparently Dazzler is in X-Men Apocalypse. And
Dazzler's power is fireworks.
last year, Bryan Singer tweeted out that he had cast Dazzler, Lady Gaga as Dazzler. It was an April Fool's, but I remember tweeting back at him that you do not joke about casting that good. So I really hope Lady Gaga will play Dazzler.
I just wish we hadn't played the Gambit card too early.
No, they're bringing Gambit back with a different actor.
Really?
They got the guy from Magic Mike.
Which one?
The
Danny
lead
Trejo?
guy. No, the leader.
Damn it.
The lead guy from Magic Mike, who was also in G.I. Joe.
My God, Danny Trejo as Gambit would be
Danny
awesome.
Trejo should have played Thunderbird in this. Okay, we have Warpath in there, and he's nowhere near inflated enough to be Warpath. But they should have had Thunderbird in there and have him get killed, because Thunderbird is only ever there in an X-Men thing to die dramatically at the start. It happened in his second appearance. It happens every single time there's like a reboot or something. Thunderbird dies. So have Johnny Trejo being Warpath's dad as Thunderbird dying dramatically. Why the fuck did no one think of that?
Being killed by a machete.
He could have, turn a sentinel into a machete. Just so fucking good. Or even have Thunderbird in the present day being Danny Trejo and then being Boo Boo Stewart in the past.
That would work.
How good would that have been?
That would be fantastic.
I'm not even sure what his powers were in this. His powers were to look really far in the distance. He could see 10 miles and have knives, and that's pretty much it.
And look lustily at Blink.
Well, everyone looks lustfully at Blink.
Well, they all just know that using her power, she can lick her own vagina, so they can only look.
Yes, you're right, she can.
Yes, her power is that she can perform cunnilingus upon herself using portals.
I don't in the X-Men movies, if they're sticking stuff with, humanizing everything, like they made the Phoenix Saga very, very, just her powers, no alien shit going on. Why don't they do that with some other stuff, They could have Warlock from the New Mutants, make him a mutant. Admittedly, it would be a very bizarre mutant, but Warlock fucking rocks. I want to see Warlock. And I want to see Cypher.
Remind me of Warlock?
Warlock was a biotechnological alien who was from this race which were not very nice, but he came to Earth and he was just like, hey, I want to join up because I'm a nice guy, and he was really eccentric and funky. And his best friend was Cypher, who his entire mutant power was that he could speak and understand every single language in the universe. He was entirely useless in a fight. This was Lampshade.
So Mystique apparently has that power anyway.
Well, she just trains herself, but Cypher was entirely useless in fights, and this was lampshaded all the time. And then he finally got killed, and he was one of the few X-Men characters that did not come back at any point. He might have come back since though. Like him and Magic and Rusty and Skids and all never came back. And Warlock died later as well. It's just but Warlock was the best creation of the X-Men series in the 80s. I love Warlock.
Yeah, just a point. Apparently, both Magneto and Mystique in this film can speak every language ever.
Well, obviously Magneto's been learning all these languages while in the Pentagon.
It takes 7 years to become fluent in a language.
Magneto's been in there for 10.
That's 1.5 languages.
There you go.
Remember, his first language is German.
First language is German, but he could also speak English and French in first class.
And Argentinian.
Spanish.
Yes. But it's a dialect.
He's like, hello, I am Magneto. Magno guy.
My family was murdered by pig farmers and tailors.
I really wish that First Class had been split up the way it originally was supposed to be, because it was supposed to be 2 films. First Class and X-Men Origins Magneto. And X-Men Origins Magneto was basically going to be Magneto hunting down Nazis and becoming friends with Professor Xavier. That would have been the most badass film ever. That's the best part of First Class. I want to see Magneto just kill Nazis.
I don't know. There are some mutants in the X-Men universe that, left to their own devices, given their own films. I mean, Wolverine's case in point here, one of the reasons I think he's used as the protagonist in these is that while he is awesomely overpowered, if you think about it for too long, you don't have to think about it for too long. He basically is very difficult to kill and doesn't age, and that's it.
Although, because of the impact of the Wolverine, he's weaker. That's why his hair was starting to grey. His healing factor has basically been cut in half.
Yeah, but...
so he's more like Wolverine of the original comics.
If you look at Magneto in these films, some of the powers he displays, his alacrity with objects, his ability to lift almost anything at this point. Magneto left to his own devices should be able to take over the world without a team of superheroes. If you look at the character of Quicksilver here, the fact that he so easily defeated a SWAT team just by running around them, moving their bullets in the air and beating the shit out of all of them in super speed.
That's actually the way that the action scene there. For years I've envisioned this action scene between someone who can move really fast and an entire military team, and that's very similar to how I envisioned it.
Yeah, you told me about that one too.
Although I was going to sort of switch between the fast speed and the slow speed, so you would see, like, the guy does one thing, like moves up and then punches one of the guys in the face really fast, but then it turns to regular speed, so then we see the guy fly off like that, and then you cut back to slow speed and he's about to do something else, so you sort of cut between the two very, very quickly. But it's basically the same sort of idea.
Yeah, but even that power, that he could take out an army incredibly easily.
Yeah.
Like, the one mutant everybody says is beyond OP is Kitty, Shadowcat, because Shadowcat can cause a thermonuclear detonation with a fingernail by accidentally leaving it inside an object. This was, I can't remember where it was mentioned, but it was mentioned in one of the X-Men comics that if she lost her power while moving through a wall, the world could explode.
I thought she would just get stuck inside the wall.
That was in one of the other comics, but...
Fair enough.
They can't keep their cannons straight.
Oh, Colossus, when he got killed, both times he got killed by shit which he survived in the comic. In one of them he gets torn in half and just dies. I don't think they quite understand that when Colossus is in metal mode, literally, okay, the example I can think of is he was knocked unconscious, not killed, whenever a guy shoved blades, the heat of the sun, into his spine and, basically shredded his internal organs on the inside.
Yeah, that knocked him out.
And he was knocked out. And then they saved him, and they made him not crippled by keeping him in metal mode while unconscious, and then using lasers and resculpting the liquid organic steel into the same shape as the original organs, and then turning him back to human. Colossus could survive being torn in half. All you gotta do is...
Just stick him back together.
Literally, yeah. If you make it a really thin sort of like connector part, you'll probably end up with a scar, and that's it. Colossus is nearly immortal. I should know, because Colossus is my favorite character.
I like whenever Colossus and Blink were teaming up. But
unless he gets the legacy virus, then he's sacrifice himself for bullshit reasons.
I like that Blink basically portaled him up high in the sky and dropped him through another portal high up into the sky again, and then dropped him on a Sentinel.
And no, and he didn't drop him on the Sentinel, he came that way.
Oh yeah, so 90 degree, it was playing Portal.
So it was leap this way, down there, down there, and then there, come there.
A terminal velocity. A terminal velocity sideways. It was playing Portal.
So yeah, some really clever uses of mutant powers in this,
But
which I
not the
approved
one
of.
that I wanted.
Like,
The Sentinels take up the power of whoever they're fighting to defeat them with it. Magneto and Colossus were in the same fight.
Mm-hmm.
Why did nobody think to be like, Colossus is turning those Sentinels into metal. I'm Magneto.
Yeah, I can just be like... You could have, yeah, that was not quite sensible enough. Like, First Class used the mutant powers even more cleverly. Like, my favorite bit was Azazel taking out the entire army of guys.
Just been dropping them.
It's like, grab, teleport, drop, teleport. But, Azazel, I liked Azazel. I'm really sad that Azazel... I didn't give a shit about Riptide, Ripcord, whatever. The guy who looked like he was a werewolf from Twilight, but in a suit. Didn't care about him. Said Angel didn't come back, and especially said Banshee didn't come back, even though he's not fucking Irish. Especially considering Siren was in X-Men 2. Kind of indicates that Banshee should have still been alive. He's got a daughter in the year 2003?
Sperm bank.
Or maybe a nephew or something, but it's like,
Yeah, Banshee's cool.
Yeah, and then they killed Darwin in the first one. It's like, I'm pretty sure Darwin survived that exact thing in the comics at one point. Was there any reason he couldn't adapt to that?
You gotta remember, though, no, not really. It's not really explained why Darwin
Because
dies.
he was black. That was it. They killed the only black member, and then they made the only Latino one into a villain. And the villain woman who's like, I just watched this, guy kill one of my friends. I'm totally even more on his side now.
Yeah, she should have been disgusted by that.
Yeah, she should have, been more, like, oh no, I don't actually know if I want to be on his side. And Sebastian Shaw, I don't know if we didn't do a vlog on First Class, so I never mentioned this before. Sebastian Shaw should have been Mr. Sinister. He was Mr. Sinister, but they decided, let's just call him Sebastian Shaw. Yeah. It's Mr. Sinister.
Yeah. In my opinion, though, Banshee is one of the most badass characters, if you state it this way. He flies by shouting at the ground and making it go away.
Yep. Although him flying in the film, it looks ridiculous. But
Yeah.
it's a perfect visual representation of how it looks in the comics, but it looks fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it doesn't translate very well to film.
Yeah. And I really would have liked... Okay, Mystique is like, finds all these dead people who were experimented on by Peter Dinklage, because Peter Dinklage is a little bastard. And and she sees the dead ones, and they are all like Angel, Salvatore, and Azazel, and all from First Class, which is fine, but she should have been more upset about Azazel because, it's pretty obvious she had a kid with Azazel, and that was Nightcrawler.
That's canon in one of the universes, is it not?
It is one of them, but in this universe it must have been happened as well.
Yeah.
Because it's clearly...
Nightcrawler looks almost exactly just like Blue Azazel.
Yeah. I really wish they had the guts to fucking do the Chris Claremont thing. What Chris Claremont was trying to do in the 80s with Mystique. Like in the X-Men live action films, Mystique is being portrayed as entirely straight. Mystique in the comics until like the early 90s was lesbian. She was with Destiny the entire time, although they were not able to depict it openly, but it was the subtext was there. And Chris Claremont's original idea was that Mystique turned into a man, had sex with Destiny, and Destiny was the mother of Nightcrawler. That is so much of a more badass and an interesting idea than anything that they actually came up with, that was used in the comic books.
They're like, I don't know what it's like to lie with a male-bodied person. Okay.
Basically, yeah. And Claremont was basically the king of the X-Men writers in the 80s. He wrote the comic book that Days of Future Past. He wrote the comic book God Loves Man Kills, which X-Men 2 was based on. He wrote the Phoenix Saga, I believe, as well. Mm-hmm. It's like, they should have really gone with his instincts on that one.
I don't know. I feel like with very little rewriting, it could have been... I mean, everybody knows that X133 were a big allegory for being gay. First Class felt more like an allegory for autism, but that's my own personal view, and I'll not try to explain that because nobody else agrees with me. But
it's not that they don't agree with you, they're just confused.
Basically, it's all about pretending to be normal and trying to hide that you think differently. It's a thing. But, yeah, with very little rewriting between First Class and Days of Future Past, they could have had Eric and Charles being lovers. There was a lot of subtext towards it.
Well, that's
Intentional or
constantly
not.
there. That's always there.
It's the perfect couple.
So how much balding will Professor Xavier be in X-Men Apocalypse?
Shakespeare.
As I'm thinking about it, in the original X-Men universe, X-Men Origins, Charles is completely bald by like 1976, because that's when Origins is set, I think. So, he's got a lot of balding to do in 3 years.
No, he just happens to meet his first fire-based student who accidentally sears his head.
Oh, or uses like potions or something. It's a Lex Luthor type thing. Oh, no hair.
But didn't you know Lex Luthor lost his hair whenever Superman crashed into Smallville?
There's a lot of different ways that he lost his hair, and all of them are fucking ridiculous. But
it can't just be I shave my head because I like it.
No, the reason for his villainy is he's pissed off at Superman. But
And he stole 44 cakes.
and that's terrible. God damn it, there was something I was going to mention that was, really not important, but it was going to be amusing to me, and I've forgotten what it is.
That the future Sentinels looked stupid.
It was like... I would have preferred the really, really tall ones, more like in the comic books, because I really wanted hero shots of the X-Men taking down Sentinels. It being more of a, they got to send a lot of Sentinels to take down an X-Man.
Yeah.
Rather than one X-Man gets taken down by them, unless they have Storm and a jet to throw at them.
Yeah, they throw a jet at a big group of... They have 10 Sentinel carriers, and I believe each Sentinel carrier
12.
carries... Yeah, 12 Sentinel carriers. Each Sentinel carrier carries a fuck ton of Sentinels. And they're all like flying in. Magneto's like, I'm gonna throw this jet, storm lightning it.
You know what happens when you strike a jet with lightning?
The same thing it happens to everything else. Apparently she really flubbed that line.
Well, Joss Whedon does, but then again, Joss Whedon is loath to admit whenever he might have been wrong about something. Like, for instance, time anyone complains about anything to do with Alien Resurrection, which he scripted, he says the same thing. He's like, they didn't say the line right. If I was directing, it would have been perfect. It's like, there's a line between being confident in yourself and, being arrogant. You might have made a mistake at one point.
Yeah, I like a lot of Joss Whedon's writing, but I dislike how he writes women.
We missed Pyro.
I miss Pyro's sparkler thingies.
Well, we never had them in the films. He just had a Zippo ladder.
I know. No, he had them in X3.
He actually had flamethrowers?
No, he had sparklers.
Oh, okay.
They were just basically sparks. And then fireball.
Oh, okay.
But they were one of the first props I ever made. Whenever I was younger. And freaked my parents out. Yeah, I strapped a can of body spray to my arm and piped it into a little sparkler on my arm and made wrist-mounted flamethrowers whenever I was about 10.
And
Because I read the X-Men.
And at the end of this, Wolverine got drowned and then therefore woke up in the future, and therefore the future changed, and then obviously Wolverine, the second you take him out of water, he's going to wake up again because you cannot kill the Wolverine, you can't kill me, Sharpie, etc. Then they're like, oh no, we found this guy and he's alive again, oh, he's a mutant. And then of course you got, young Stryker being all like, ha ha ha, I have plans for you, my pretty. And then you reveal it's Mystique, and it's like...
It makes no sense.
Yeah, getting Stryker capturing Wolverine makes perfect fucking sense.
Yeah, it would wrap everything up quite nicely. Having that be Mystique just leaves a lot of questions.
It just makes it fucking stupid. Her in charge of the X project? It's like...
Maybe the X project didn't happen and he's still sitting in a bone claw.
I
In which case, why is he aged? Because...
Or the Wolverine didn't happen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions in this. And I'd like to say that X-Men Origins Wolverine would have been improved greatly if they reversed Wolverine and Sabretooth's parts. If Wolverine had been the bastardly one and Sabretooth had been the nice one, and then Wolverine was the one who was killing people for Project X, and grabbed Sabretooth and then gave him to Project X, and then mutated Sabretooth, who turned into Tyler Mane Sabretooth because the new Project X stuff upgrade made him like 7 foot tall and blonde haired for some reason, and then he came after Wolverine and then forced him into it. That would have lined up much better with the X-Men films from later on. It would have bridged the gap between Liev Schreiber Sabretooth and Tyler Mane Sabretooth. Plus, it would have given Wolverine an actual arc, rather than have him be, hey, I'm Wolverine, and I'm a nice person. Oh no, I lost my memories. I'm a bit grouchy about that. Hey, I'm a nice person again. It would have been Wolverine's an utter, complete bastard who loses his memories and becomes a better person because of it. I think it would have lined up better. And it would have had a great bit of tragedy for Sabretooth that he started off as this sort of, nice, protective, the more human of the two brothers. Then he becomes a complete and utter monster because of Wolverine.
I will say this, there are a lot of reasons why that happened, but one of them is that the Rating Society committee people in America, they will automatically give an R rating to anything that implies that mental illness makes you a better person. Of any kind, even amnesia.
How odd.
Yeah, they really don't like that idea.
Of
also,
course,
they give an automatic R rating if there's gayness in it.
Of course, my suggestion here would have meant that Wolverine would have had to lose his memory right at the end, meaning there wouldn't have been anything to do with an adamantium bullet, or there wouldn't have been anything with Ma and Pa Kent replacing the Hudsons, or having Canada being played by Kansas and shit like that. But would we be crying really? Would we, if we just ended X-Men Origins Wolverine with him escaping, brutally murdering everyone, and then escaping to the Canadian wilderness, and that was it? Would we be complaining?
Well, no, but you're kind of bringing it back to the main point that the way to fix X-Men's Origins Wolverine is to tear it up and rewrite it.
I've thought this since I saw it. I've thought this since I saw the work print that was leaked.
I still haven't made it through the film. And I've watched a lot of shitty films. Just every time I go to watch Origins Wolverine, I fall asleep.
Plus, X-Men Origins Wolverine would then be missing Barakapool, which is another good thing. So yeah, I really think X-Men Origins Wolverine could be saved if you take the first hour, you reverse it, you change a couple of the way the performances go, you get rid of Silver Fox, and then you make basically what happens 3/4 of the way the finale, and you make it more brutal.
Doesn't it sound exactly how we're going to improve The Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Well, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is you don't make it and you give the rights back to Marvel.
You get rid of this character and this character, you rewrite it so it's a bit nicer, you make what happens about 3/4 of the way through the finale, and you make it a bit darker and a lot more epic.
You just give the rights back to Marvel.
Yeah, give the rights back to Marvel. Give the X-Men...
No,
Fox is doing a really nice job with the X-Men, but I'm in two minds about this.
They are right now. They weren't a while back.
No, they weren't. They are right now. But I really want my X-Men, Avengers, and Spider-Man all in one universe.
I'd start off with other ones. Sony or someone is apparently starting off with a Submariner movie. Submariner, I can't remember who owns the rights to him, but they're going to try and make a movie, and hopefully because he's a really hard character to get right, he probably shouldn't headline his own film, plus he's not that famous. I hope they throw a lot of money in it, and it fails, and then they give that character back to Marvel. Then we can concentrate on trying to get Spider-Man back, because I'm still secretly hoping that the Amazing Spider-Man series crashes and burns, because it's already doing that critically. I'm really hoping that it's going to collapse utterly with its spin-offs.
Yeah, box office crash as well.
Fantastic Four I'd like to see back. X-Men, I'm fine with them being separate.
No, I'm fine with it being separate. I kind of want to fangasm over a big crossover.
Oh, I'd like that as well.
I want to see my Civil War movie, and for that, it would be sad to leave out anything.
Although, apparently there's... they're going to have to do some sort of reboot on the X-Men at some point, because Hugh Jackman has indicated that he's going to retire at some point. When he does, and they recast him, they might as well reboot X-Men.
Or, just stop making Wolverine the protagonist of every film.
Well, I'd quite like that as well.
The X-Men has a very long history, with literally over 100 interesting characters. And we've just about to run out of tape.
Oh dear.
Zero Mins mean we haven't run out yet, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, go
It's
watch
good.
it. It's good.
It's good. Please help it get its money back. It was very expensive.
Yes, it was. Bye.